Good afternoon. Last session coming up. Hurrah, hurrah, hurrah. Seb. Would you like to say a few words, or?
Actually, I'm very happy to say a few words, but I think in this case it's really in the wrong order, because I'm going to throw to the guys that have done the heavy lifting at these championships, both Adam and Balázs, and then I'll sort of pull the knitting together, if I may. Sorry, has this come as a complete surprise to you? I hope so, because this has been an extraordinarily good local organising committee, and I'd really like to give you the first words today.
Thank you so much. If you don't mind, yeah, I'll be speaking Hungarian.
Heartfelt welcome to representatives of the press. Taking into account that tonight we'll have the last session at the World Athletics Championships in Budapest, and this is the closing press conference of the World Championships. Therefore, I think my primary task today should be to express my gratitude and my thanks to all who have contributed to the fact that in the last 9 years, we really witnessed the wonder here in Budapest. First of all, I'd like to thank the opportunity for World Athletics and personally to President Sebastian Coe for actually voting confidence for Budapest and Hungary, so that here in the Central European region, for the first time, Budapest had the opportunity to organize World Athletics Championships. I'd like to thank everyone who had a part in preparing this decision so that this decision was really made, and who have been helping the organization of these World Championships ever since. I would like to thank the Hungarian Athletics Federation for providing us all support that it took for these World Championships to be so successful, and ensured all necessary conditions so that our national team members could participate in never ever seen numbers, and we could have our heart beating together with our athletes. I would like to stop here, and I would like to thank each and every Hungarian athlete and sports leaders, managers, and of course all international athletes as well. I'd also like to extend my gratitude to the Hungarian government, who spared no effort to ensure all the conditions so that we could organize the best ever World Championships. We are sitting here, and the Queen of Sports, the home of Queen of Sports, this beautiful athletics center, which hosted this extraordinary and fantastic event, and which, according to our plans following the World Championships, is going to be a home country of athletics and also those involved in leisure sports. A year ago, I was appointed as the government commissioner of this World Championships, but at the same time, I'm a state secretary or minister of state responsible for sports, and therefore I thought my primary duty and responsibility would be, together with my associates, to put together an organizing committee that would consider these World Championships as a matter of essence. And I would like to use this opportunity to thank Balázs Német, the CEO of the organizing committee, for this committed work that he has shown in the last 1 year to make these World Championships as it became to be. And I also have the feeling that it was not me who was supposed to sit here, but one of the members of the organizing committee, and those persons are responsible, and those are the ones who would deserve the gratitude, but I don't have the time to read out all of them, but I would like to tell them that they are going to be recognized and rewarded. Now, a world event of this magnitude could not be staged without thousands of volunteers. These volunteers have been participating with the help of the Physical Education University of Physical Education, and I have to mention them separately because in this enormous heat, their work was just inevitable to make these World Championships happen. I would therefore like to stop at the National Event Organizing Agency, because in the last 1 year we managed to cooperate and collaborate and found the best ways to do so. Not only because we are here, sitting here at the press conference, but I would also like to thank each and every member of the press, the international media, the Hungarian press, Hungarian media, for helping to broadcast this wonder and miracle to each and every corner of the world. This is not a final piece of information, but according to the information we have, more than 1 billion people followed these events through television. I hope that all of you have been satisfied with the care and the treatment you received here. As a Minister of State responsible for sports, I've been committed to make this event, the outstanding world events, should go beyond the domain of sports and go beyond those couple of days when they are staged. This is why we had a unique introductory campaign of this event, because it was our objective and it was our plan to bring sports closer to Hungarians and athletics closer to Hungarians, to make this part of their everyday life, so that cultivating sports and being involved in sports ensures a much better living standards to them. And I think that we've been successful in this respect. Now, what's worth such a world event without fans, which is the third largest world event and the largest this year? So I think that one of the most important expectations towards us and the organizing committee was that to reach out to as many people as possible. Fantastic athletes have been here, real heroes within the stadium and also in downtown Budapest. But of course, it would have been absolutely different if there were empty stadiums and empty streets. So I'd like to extend my gratitude. I'm really grateful that so many Hungarians have come out and cheered and rooted so that such a wonderful atmosphere could be created in this fantastic facility. I think that this really impressed everyone, and it was fantastic to witness that our objective with this World Championship, so that each and every Hungarian could be proud of these World Championships, I think we've achieved that, and every Hungarian can be proud of the fact and can take pride of the fact that we have had the opportunity to organize this. Such an event could be expressed in several different manners, but I think that the number of the sports leaders coming here and Mr. Sebastian Coe, his personality really contributed to the fact that there have been enormous numbers of sports leaders from around the world participating in this event. I really hope that they agree that in these 9 days, we've seen a wonder, we've seen the miracle, and if this is true, then we can hope for the fact that when they will have the opportunity to decide on the next location of the Olympic Games, then they will have this in mind, that they would be willing to come back to Budapest. Thank you very much for your honoring attention. May I wish you a very pleasant work for today and tonight, and really hope that soon we'll have another great international sports event and a press conference where I can welcome you. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My team is absolutely very, very tired, but we are delighted. We met 9 days ago. I hope you enjoyed the show the last 9 days. I promised you fun experience and a unique, memorable, non-average, special World Athletics Championships. And what should I say now? At the closing press conference, this World Championships, Budapest 23, couldn't have been better than it was. It was the greatest, most successful, most entertaining, the best sporting event in the history of Hungary. More than 400,000 tickets have been sold in 120 countries. The average ticket sales was over 90%, almost 95%. And the most important thing, that all of these spectators, or huge majority of these people, left the stadium with a smile on their face. And I'm sure that this event, athletics, this sport, amazed also more than 1 billion TV viewers around the world. We promised a lot, and all of these promises have come true in the last 9 days. So that's why I think all stakeholders can be happy and can be delighted. Of course, this couldn't have been achieved without the athletes, the team members, the spectators, volunteers, officials, media representatives, without my colleagues, without the Hungarian government, and without the city of Budapest. So thank you, all of you, and of course, thank you, Juhu. Thanks for the magical performances of the athletes, thanks for the trust of the World Athletics, for the passion of the volunteers, for the energy of my team members, for the support of the national and international media. It was a great teamwork. Well done. Thank you very much.
Well done. Straight to questions or no? No, you should say something.
Actually, that was the surprise of handing over straight away has meant that there's not much I'm actually needing to say now, other than the fact, thank you, both of you. They were lovely speeches, and you asked the question, you hope all the stakeholders are happy. Well, I can't speak for all of them, but I can speak on behalf of World Athletics, and we're certainly leaving here happy. Actually, before I talk about the World Championships, it's just worth briefly noting we did actually have our first council meeting of the new mandate this morning. Thomas Bach, the president of the IOC, came to address us, and I was delighted that he addressed the very first international federation with an entirely gender-balanced council. And I also, after the opening salvos of the council meeting, when we got down to the guts of the business, I appointed Jimena Restrepo from Chile as my senior vice president for the coming 4 years. The only challenge we have is I didn't actually alert her to that until she got on the plane to Santiago. So somewhere mid-air, she's probably going to hear this news at some stage. And I hope they don't suddenly decide to turn the plane around, but I'm sure that she will accept, and it was met with, unanimous support. Let me start from a personal perspective, if I may. These are the first World Championships that have actually been awarded during my presidency. And that is no remote criticism of the 3 previous games championships that I'd inherited, but these championships are special for me because we started in a way from a different place. We started from a place where we wanted to build meaningful partnerships and relationships with our host city from the very beginning, and I think we achieved that. A place where we knew what the new standard of World Championships needed to look like. And it's a place where we've embedded in innovation and ambitious legacy. And we've seen all this. We've seen a manifestation of this play out, I think, over the last 8 days. We've seen full stadia, and that was vitally important for me. And it's a full stadia that has delivered electrical and addictive atmospheres. I can't really remember a better atmosphere at a World Championships. You do really have to go back a few years. Geography matters. There are 11 very big athletics nations within touching distance of Hungary. And we had the top ticket purchasers were the UK, Germany, the USA, France, and Spain. And these championships have had the highest number of athletes participating, 2,100 from 195 countries, plus, of course, our athlete refugee team. We've witnessed jaw-dropping, nail-biting competitions. 13 of our athletes in the field events all achieved their best performance in the 6th round, the final round, and 5 of them were gold medalists. And we've had countries in all 6 continental associations, continents, that have won medals. And we're also seeing some huge audiences tuning in from all over the world, carried by a record 1,200 accredited broadcast personnel, 46 broadcast units on site. And in the first half of these championships, over 500 million viewing hours were consumed in 8 key markets outside of Africa, China, and South America. And initial analysis is showing that viewers are not only tuning in for bigger numbers, they're actually watching for between 25 and 30% longer than in the past. We've talked about innovation. It has really been a driving force. That should not be a surprise in a country with a skilled workforce and a historic bent for innovation. And these championships have had innovation and legacy embedded from the very outset, from the medal plazas. I think from the response of the athletes, that genie's out of the bottle. I don't think we're ever going to be able to present medals again inside a stadium, or inside a stadium where most people have gone home. This is the first championships where we've recognized that behind every athletic performance, whether they were athletes that exited in the first round of the competition or went on to a podium finish, that there is a coach sitting behind them, sometimes 2, sometimes 3. We've not been able to present 3 medals to their coaching teams, but we've certainly been able to present a medal in respect of the work that the coaches do, and they do it 24/7, and they do it way, way beyond the medals table. They're often the only male or female role models in local communities. And I want to talk a little bit later in my remarks about one of the initiatives that I think will make a huge difference. And we've had striking branding. You know, from the moment we have flown into this city, you are conscious this is a World Championship city. And it's a city where we have been clearly wanted. It's a city that has celebrated these championships, and it's a city that has really embraced a widespread community engagement. And let me place on record my thanks to the mayor, because there have been some really smart initiatives, particularly around the Heroes program. The initiative to exchange ticket prices for people, particularly young people, that have entered a program or the practice of physical activity and participation. That is something that really, I'm sure, will become an embedded legacy going forward. And this is a city that has a mayor that really has understood sustainability. Within literally the first few days of Budapest being awarded these championships, he was on the phone to me. We had a 2-hour working lunch, actually, on the phone, talking about sustainability and actually using London 2012 as very much a template. I was also slightly surprised that he'd already read our 10-year sustainability strategy, which at that point was more than I could claim. Sorry about that, Jackie. And finally, this was a country that really has got a long-term ambition for sport, and sport that goes way, way beyond 9 days of competition. And look, if you're going to go to a country, it's always quite sensible to find or pick a prime minister that really does get sport. And in Viktor Orban, we couldn't have had more support, both at a local and a national level. I'm delighted that we have entered some quite detailed discussions now with the Hungarian government and also the Hungarian Institute for Sport about the thought of the ongoing legacy within the stadium. And we are now working up a proposal that will focus very much on coaching. I said just a few moments ago the way I value coaching. The only reason I'm sitting here at this press conference is that I am the product of world-class coaching. And there is no grey area. If you do not have world-class coaches, you simply do not have the kind of athletic performances that we've witnessed in this stadium. So the proposition is that the stadium, the National Athletics Stadium, that will obviously be an incubator for local and young talent coming through and the next generation of Hungarian athletes, will also become a World Athletics Centre for Coaching Excellence. And when I say that, it will focus on research and development, sports science, medicine, biomechanics, AI, a growing and challenging but opportunity-filled landscape for us. The work around sports equipment, shoe technology, and basically all in support of the coach-athlete relationship. So this is, I hope, a strong, in a way, infrastructural legacy that we can work on as we leave Budapest. Let me finally just thank the local organising committee, because the effort has been Herculean. I couldn't have asked more from that organising committee. John Ridgen, my CEO, is sitting at the back of the room, trying to keep his eyes open at this moment, because he's also quite tired, Balázs. And I know
I saw him yesterday evening at the Dentsu Gala.
Okay, we'll probably take that offline if you don't mind. That is just really to say that I know he would want to say this on behalf of all our HQ teams. I'm happy to say it on his behalf, that we have really enjoyed working here. It's not been without its challenges, but we've always found the navigable route through, which is important. And I'd like to thank John, because he has stewarded our HQ teams with his usual deft management and leadership. And I'm very pleased to have a CEO of his quality. So to you, John, and particularly Balázs and Adam and Balázs sitting in the front row, thank you for your help and your support. And to all of you, thank you for reporting in such an animated way. These have been a truly great championships.
Thanks, Seb. That was deft leadership, not deaf leadership, wasn't it? I'm just checking.
No, it was deaf, yeah.
Okay, questions. So if you can put your hand up, there are microphones. I am going to go with colour of your clothing, so that the girls with the microphones can actually. Yeah, you don't need to know the question. So we'll start in the front row. Grey shirt, hand higher, 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 higher. Whee. And then Eddie will come to you afterwards.
This is Anderson Emerald, the final leg. Question for Seb. What's maybe one of the biggest challenges that you faced, that World Athletics has faced here at the World Championships, and what are maybe initial thoughts on how you might prepare to address them going into Tokyo 2025?
Look, as we do after every World Championships, Tony and his teams and John will have a proper session where, well, not a proper session, where all our functional areas, all our departments will feed into that experience. I can't sit here and tell you that the challenges have been of a particular nature. They are the usual warp and weft of any World Championships. But, you know, when you have the largest Olympic sport by a distance, you know, it's often worth remembering that 20% of every competitor at an Olympic Games is one of us. We have we had 195 countries here. We have well over 200 that are members of our World Athletics Federation. It's a complicated landscape. It's not a tennis court or a football pitch. It's one sport with a plethora of different disciplines. So I can't sit here and tell you we have unearthed any big challenges. I've been pretty much across everything over the course of this week, and I like to think that it's gone pretty smoothly, but of course we'll learn, and if there is anything that we can adapt or be responsive to when we are in Tokyo in 2 years' time, you can rest assured we will be there.
Thank you. Eddie, so white shirt, glasses on head. Thanks.
Hi, Seb. It's Eddie Pels with AP.
I know.
Oh, okay. I don't know if that's good or not, but there's a couple of great Ukrainian high jumpers competing tonight, and I just kind of, you know, we know how you feel about Russia and what the stance is there, but are you concerned at all about the viability of having a group of athletes from a country that's a big player in this sport, you know, continuing to have to train, you know, living in various countries and not being able to be at home. You've got an Olympics coming in less than a year. The war seems to be kind of dragging out. What's your level of concern kind of from the humanitarian side on that?
Oh, it makes me choke. What am I going to say? You know, I've been an athlete. I was able to prepare in the safety and security of my home city. I was able, when I needed to travel abroad. I've got, see Daley Thompson sitting in the back row. He would, you know, he trained with me on most of those occasions. I cannot imagine what it must be like for athletes from Ukraine to be dealing with this landscape. We've made a modest contribution where we've created a welfare fund. We have the ability to train away from their homeland. Some are in Turkish training camps, some are in Portugal, some have been in Italy. We made a presentation in the stadium just the other day for some equipment that has, of course, been destroyed with so much else. It's a modest contribution. But yeah, it's an intolerable situation, and that's why I won't be changing my views anytime soon.
So behind the last question asker, hand up, yes, you, Sean. Black T-shirt, did have sunglasses on his head, taking them off.
Sean Ingle, Guardian. Two related questions. First of all, are you able to say anything about your meeting with the IOC president today, or his talk? And related to that, we know athletics is going to be the biggest sport at next year's Paris Olympics. We've had two huge American sprinters in Noah Lyles and Sha'Carri Richardson really burst through. Does that give you even more optimism that the athletics is going to dominate the Olympics next year?
No and yes. Look, we were delighted that Thomas was here. And that's the way it should be. He's the International Olympic Committee president, and this is the largest World Championships that is staged within the Olympic family. I was delighted he was here. I was also delighted that we have many International Olympic Committee members with us. I'm not going to maintain a running commentary on our discussions, but they were very constructive. And actually, the one area that we spent a lot of time talking about was the challenge that we face. We've heard me talk about it in athletics, but also across the Olympic spectrum, and that's the challenge of climate change, the impact that that's going to inevitably have on the construction of the calendar. And he and I both agreed that it will need addressing, because it's not going to change. That situation is not going to change anytime soon. And it really is almost irrelevant now where we stage our championships. You know, 30, 40 years ago, you were pretty sure that, you know, some were going to be more challenging than others, but you didn't have that extraordinary range of challenge. You know, we are coming to World Athletics Championships now. I was delighted yesterday morning at the marathon to thank all our medical teams, but we're traveling with a field hospital now. I mean, it looked like a scene out of MASH down there. You know, and they're doing a fabulous job. They're the best team around, and Hungary have provided some of the very best medics. But look, this is the world we're now living in, and this is Hungary. So it's really important that was one of the areas that we both talked about, and the need to you know, really address it. No, well, but it's fantastic, isn't it? I mean, you know, they're absolute rock stars. They both have come through in the most powerful way. And yeah, you know, am I optimistic? Yes, I've been optimistic for some years now. You know, if we were sitting here 3 or 4 years ago, and occasionally I get the question now, and it's inevitably, well, what are you all going to do when Usain Bolt's left the scene? Well, yeah, nobody's ever going to replace Usain. He is Usain. But, you know, the extraordinary nature and that range of talent that's now coming through, both in the field, in track and in field throws and jumps. I mean, last night, you know, some of the field events here have been the big magnesium moments in our championships.
Thank you. So we're going to go to the gentleman in the yellow shirt. If you could put your hand higher, thank you. And then we'll come to you.
Matthias Tjärnström from TV4 Sweden. Mr. Coe, how much do you discuss the issue of sport washing, and where do you guys draw the line for future and upcoming events and championships?
Discussions with who, sorry?
Within the council.
Oh, within the council, yeah. We have discussions that relate all the time to our bidding cities, the bidding process. We have a bidding evaluation panel. The metrics are very clear. They're actually on our website, so you can see them, and they're across a whole series of metrics. And yes, some of them about social and political conditions, some of them about climate change, some of them about the ability of a city to meet the obligations, some are about visas. You know, it's a complicated matrix, but yes, of course. We have a human rights framework, we have a safeguarding policy, and we have a 10-year sustainability strategy. So they are all enmeshed in that language and that discourse.
Would you, for example, let Saudi Arabia host a championship?
Look, we have a very good relationship with the Saudi Arabian Track and Field Federation. We are a global sport, and we will make judgments as and when we have to about where we go. But it's not simply going to be based on finance any more than it's going to be based on you guys going on TripAdvisor and deciding that it's a bit hot and the menus aren't that great. We will make proper judgments about how and where we stage our championships. And in large part, they will always be driven by the welfare of the athletes and the ability of a host city to deliver a championships that gives the athletes the chance to celebrate what is not 9 days of competition, but 12 years of detailed, arduous training.
Thank you. Possibly the two best dressed or these championships. Hand up. Thank you. Yeah, you're looking now.
Jackie, you make us blush. It's Jodie from the Backstreet Boys.
I don't think very much makes you blush.
That's very true. We were previously reprimanded for not asking questions in a press conference. So you might have opened Pandora's box and you might live to regret it.
Would you be prepared to tell me who actually suggested you ask these questions?
Absolutely not.
No, okay, fine.
Firstly, I just want to say thank you for this championships. Like for the organising committee, it's been a phenomenal for championships and the organisation, and obviously the action has been phenomenal as well. There's been some new innovations at this championship, not necessarily new, but they've been embedded in these championships, some of which you just mentioned, but the queue room, which you seem to have sorted out, it actually makes sense now. The introduction to the track, which is like heavyweight boxers, the medal ceremonies, coaches getting medals, the streamlined schedules, including a lack of morning sessions, which we all appreciate. Were they organised? Were they from the organising committee? Are they World Athletics innovations? Will we see them going forward? And what do you have planned for next championships?
You'll see them all going forward. I don't think you step back. You know, they were road tested here, and they've, you know, when the rubber hit the road, it was pretty spectacular. So we will continue to build on that. And again, this was a suffusion of what we've all instinctively wanted to do in world athletics, the ability to be able to shape from the very outset a championship in the way that I described in my opening remarks, and working with the local organising committee, who have in themselves come up with some really smart ideas, which we've said, yeah, why not? Let's try it.
Cool, thank you. And a kind of related question. Our coverage is very fan-focused. We consider ourselves fans first. From a fan perspective, we found out yesterday that Carl Lewis is here, for example. Only found out on social media. There's lots of past champions here. Jackie Joyner's here. Daly's over in the corner. Carolina Klüft, Valerie Adams, you know, Duratu Tulu. We met a 20-year-old fan who was crying because she met Duratu Tulu the other day because she was so excited. In light of that and the resources and the experience and the interest that people have from past champions, why is there no interaction organised by World Athletics for these champions at a championships? There's no kind of press conferences, there's no meet and greets, there's nothing. And if it wasn't for social media, we wouldn't even know they were here. Well, and even the medal ceremonies, why aren't, no disrespect, Seb, but I don't remember your history in the heptathlon, and yet you were giving the medal out for the heptathlon when Denise Lewis is here, Carolina Klüft's here, Jackie Joyner's here. Why aren't they included more?
Well, they are included. We
don't know.
Well, they've all been invited. They're all on our ambassador program. I don't think if you ask Daly, he would tell you he's been sort of idling around. He's every time I speak to him, he's involved in fan engagement. He's involved with meet and greet. He's involved with speaking to all our athletes. He's been
as fans, I didn't know any. Just happened to bump into some of these people. So maybe it happens. Maybe we don't know about it. But
no, Jodie, I think you've got a really good idea, and we should do the list. A lot of the
we'll look at this.
A lot of the legends that are here are actually working, right? So they're on
Yeah.
TV, and trying to get into their schedules is a nightmare as well. A number of them are coaching, obviously, as well. But actually, it's a good idea. What we'll do is we'll look at the list, and we'll ask if they'd mind if we circulate it, and if they can be made available if you want to talk to them. Yeah.
thank you
That's a
very
good
much.
idea.
Okay, thank you.
A great innovation. I like that. No.
Okay.
Your innovation already. Thank you. Yes. So if we can go, yes, gentlemen in a, what would say, turquoise? I'm not really sure. Teal. I'm liking teal.
Brian Pinelli with Team USA. Good to see you, Seb.
Good to see you. Whatever colour you're wearing.
A little bit of a follow-up on some of your previous answers. For many years in your heyday, track and field was the undisputed #1 sport at the Olympics. You mentioned now it's still
it still is.
It's still the largest, right? But with so much IOC innovation and so much youth sport coming in, obviously, surfing we'll see, albeit in Tahiti, 3-on-3 basketball, skateboarding, and golf now brings in elite talent crew, as tennis always has. Is there any concern in what you continue to do to, I know you're going to say the numbers are great here, but what will you continue to do to innovate and market a little bit more toward youth? Because I don't know for sure if they're tuning in as much as to other sports potentially.
Yeah, it's the holy grail, isn't it? Every sport is trying to remain relevant, salient in the lives of young people. And when I say that, I mean fitting into their lifestyles. We know that they're consuming everything in a very different way than they were even 2 years ago. So that we need to absolutely keep abreast of it. If you look at what we have planned for the next 4 years, which is my final mandate here, it is ambitious, and in large part it's about understanding a great deal more about our sport, who watches our sport, when they watch it, some of the demographies around it. Also making sure that we're doing things. Look, there is a balance. You don't build your sport entirely around what 14 or 15-year-olds want, but you have to be guided by it. And the most important thing here is to make sure that we remain the #1 Olympic sport. If I'm being blunt here, that isn't the race we're in. I don't really care about, our measurements against swimming and gymnastics. I really don't need to be told about our status in the sport. The race is a very much tougher race, and that is about young people. It's about landscape. It's about digitization. It's about how we create a product that future-proofs the sport. And it's not really a race against other sports. And it's certainly not a race against other Olympic sports, because there are plenty of other sports out there that are grabbing landscape and time. And look, I'm delighted that the Olympic movement is moving towards, engaging younger people. That's been, an aging population for some time, but I'm not, it doesn't give me sleepless nights when I see what we can deliver here and the way we've delivered it. But we have to go on doing that, and we have to go on doing it in a smarter way, and we need global events every year, and we need more events. We need to build the profiles of the athlete. We need them out more often. This is a professional sport, and we don't have enough of them out on a regular basis. Our season is too short. We sort of say it's May through to September. In reality, it's July, August, and September, and no professional sport is really on secure foundations if it's really only able to identify that. Of course, we have our city marathons, we have indoor, we have cross-country, we have road, but this is the flagship event, and we've got to make sure that we have more of them, and we have one of them every year.
Just quickly.
I know you can't see the hands behind you, so if you don't mind, thank you. Yes, hand up, inside the games. Yes, green, yellow, no, pink, green.
Patrick Burke from Inside the Games. Couple of questions for Seb. What have you made of the criticism from Yelena Isinbayeva this week, suggesting that you've tried to keep silent about her role or her historical contribution to athletics? Secondly, do you think Budapest is ready to stage an Olympic Games as we speak? And pushing my luck slightly, one more. No medals for France at these World Championships a year before the Olympics. Is that a concern? And is there something that can be done about it in the next 12 months or so?
You might want to go back. I'm not sure we've told you about these Zimbabwe comments, so you may not know.
No.
So, sorry.
No, I'm not aware of what she's been saying, so I think that's probably the easiest and safest place to leave it. Look, yeah, it's a challenge for France. You know, I remember being intimately involved in the delivery of the London Games. The most important element in our championships, the delivery of those games, particularly at a domestic level, of course, was that probably, if we're again being open, the lowest moment in the delivery of a games over that 7-year period is roughly when you're witnessing the games that comes before you. And the great thing about Beijing was Britain finished 4th on the medals table. It was a dramatic improvement. We were winning medals in distances and disciplines that across the Olympic family of sport that we'd never done before. And British athletes came back with a decent tally. And I sensed at the time that the sort of collective psyche moved away from budgets and timelines and ducting and tunneling and, you know, and all the things that, you know, focus people's attention during the delivery of games. They just sat there thinking, well, you know, can you imagine having all this in your own backyard in 4 years' time? And won't it be great to see Jess Ennis and Chris Hoy and Mo Farah and people like that? And yeah, I think that will be a challenge, and the French Federation will understand that, and I'm sure the local organising committee will understand that, and they're going to have to, you know, work hard. And, you know, we need to make sure that we are doing everything we possibly can to probably work harder than we would normally have done around the track and field programme, just to make sure that we recognise there's a bit of a domestic delta at the moment. The one thing about athletics, and it's one of our treasured assets, and that is, look, again, I'm choosing my words carefully. You know, Hungary has had good performances here, but the fans have not looked at this as being just about Hungarian athletics. They have absolutely got behind the very fact that 110 countries are buying tickets to start off with. But they have not left the stadium or switched off or gone on to the concourse to get a beer when a Hungarian athlete isn't competing. They've just celebrated the extraordinary nature of our sport, and we are lucky with that. We're not tribal. Yeah, of course we want to see our teams and our flags and the medal table, but athletics and individual performance transcends all that, and that is the great quality of athletics fans around the world. They're not sitting there going, well, I haven't had a great evening because I haven't seen my local athlete breaking a world record or getting into a final.
And the last one was whether Budapest could host Olympic Games.
Look, you know, I can speak on behalf of track and field. Of course, we have seen the highest quality of track and field athletics performance and delivery. And this is an ambitious city. This is an ambitious country. And I have no reason to doubt that they would put up a very credible bid if it was entertained through the current bidding process through the International Olympic Committee. Yeah, I mean, I would encourage them.
Okay, any other questions? Yes, so we'll go right to the very back, and then come to the front. Very back blue hat. Australian, I believe. It's an Oz hat. It looks like it might be cricket.
Yes, This is David Woods of Dystat, actually in the United States. How soon will...
That's probably quite a big insult, really, isn't it? I thought I was about to get a question about the Ashes.
No Ashes. How soon will World Athletics select locations and dates for 2027 and 2029?
Well, the bidding process for 27 is shortly about to open. We have a bidding, as you know, we have an evaluation panel. We have a lot of good cities that are, have declared an interest. You're going to ask me who they are, and I'm going to say no, I can't tell you, because we're not into that process yet. The dates for 27, John, have we chosen dates for 27 yet? I guess it will depend on who emerges in that process. 25, we've moved the championship dates a little further into September, just to protect the athletes from the heat of a Tokyo summer and some of the challenges around humidity. And 29, yeah, we've already had some cities that have declared an interest for 29, including Africa, and that will be those dates will be determined when we know who emerges from that. And obviously, dates are chosen not simply about, you know, we try to keep them within the usual window, but sometimes you need to make adaptations given where you are, given climate, and everything from kids' school holidays through to, you know, to patterns of everyday life.
Gentleman down here at the front, then Mitch. So, yeah, stripy shirt, filming.
For Mr. Coe, Diego Favot from Argentina. I want to know if, for the next 4 years, do you have some plans for developing the South America infrastructure, maybe tournaments, or whatever? I know about Lima, but what else, and what do you think is most important to develop in South America?
Yeah, we do. The continental tour is important for us. 3 years ago, we created the Continental Tour. Actually, it was right in the middle of COVID, which shows you that we weren't just being subsumed by the crisis of the day. We were continuing to keep our eye on creating those opportunities. More competitions in South America is really important. I've spoken to Helio Gesta de Melo, our president for Atletismo Sudamericano. I've been practicing that all day. And we know that that's impressive, huh? Yeah, thanks. Okay. We've got work to do there. I think it will be helpful that the choice of my senior vice president will be Jimena Restrepo, bronze medalist from Chile, but bronze medalist in Barcelona in 1992. Somebody who has a very clear vision about what the sport looks like. She's currently sporting director at the Pan American Games in Lima. She left us today. That's why I wasn't able to give her the good news. And we will be focusing, as we will on all our area associations. One of the focuses I really want, and I sort of take Europe out of that because they have a championships which, you know, creates interest, activity, broadcast, and the European Athletics Association is a very good organizer of championships, but we do have to improve the quality and the reach of our area championships, particularly if we want athletes from those continents to be competing closer to home and inspiring young people to be engaged in the sport. So those will be the two big focuses.
Mitch, red polo shirt. Longer shorts this time. Well done.
Hi, Mitch from Reuters. Seb, when you came in as president, you had a clear manifesto. Then you had the Russian doping. Last 4 years or so, you've been working a lot on sustainability, the internal equality. What's kind of top of your list, to-do list for the next 4 years? What do you really want to kind of go away with having achieved?
I think it's pretty much what I've already said, but let me maybe just sort of give you some thoughts. Global events are hugely important. You know, we see what happens when we get it right in a World Championships. 2026 is a year where we don't have an Olympic Games or a World Championship. There's only 1 year, actually, between now and 29 where we don't have a World Championships or an Olympic Games. So we're lucky we have athletics center stage, but we do need to make sure that every year we have something that gets the number of people watching our sport, the profile of the athletes, the prize money for the athletes, and 26 will be a big moment, and that needs to be different, and it does need to do all those things. It's about the pace of competition as well. I think we've done pretty well here, but I still think we can put more pace into it, maybe to contract those championships slightly. What we have tried to do is, as you've seen from the program, is to have more semis and finals in the course of an evening. I think it is, the souffle doesn't always keep rising when you go from a semi-final or a final and then back to the first round of something. But that's complicated in a sport of 40 different disciplines. I want us all really to understand what are the barriers to that type of improvement. And there's no one size fits all in a sport that is structured in the way we are. So I think we need to be really open about what's working and what isn't working. We're a sport without, we don't have an infinite budget, but we do need to make sure that where we are investing in events, we're investing in events that people really want to watch. So really understanding where, the data, there's still too much assessment and decision being made on a sort of misplaced nostalgia, or I think that's how it should be. When we make those decisions, we have to be able to stand behind the data that says, sadly, some of these disciplines, some of these events are not really capturing the imagination. And for all the reasons I've said, we don't have the privilege in a way of not responding to that. I think the other area I want to really focus on is our ability to get more coaches, get more people that we are training to remain in our sport. Some of the best trained coaches are not actually being retained in our sport. They're finding their way into other sports. So we need to turn that around. So those are the sorts of things that are in my head, and we need to move quickly on that, because in order to get that result, that change in 4 years, you really need to drive that hard over the next 2 years. And that was the message this morning to the new council, that this is going to be a really hard-working council, and we're going to go about this with exactly the same zeal that we did in reforming the sport and then dealing with all the other things that were in the in-tray.
Okay, so we've got 3 more questions coming up. So Jodie with the shirt with palm leaves, trees on it. Thank you. And then we'll come to you in the middle, and then the gentleman by the fridge.
Me again, sorry. In light of the way that digital media has changed the way that the sport is covered and the way that athletes can interact with their fans and the wider public, do athletes have an obligation to talk to all sections of the press, especially if their expectation is that the interaction and subsequent story will be a negative one?
Look, I don't actually think athletes have an obligation to do very much. I'm not a federation president that is particularly dogmatic about these things. I sit with athletes, I talk to them. In the early days of my presidency, it was very much, what are you going to do for me? And I said, well, we can do a lot, but what are you going to do to help yourselves? And it is a regular refrain from many of you that I speak to on a regular basis, that you don't feel you have quite the access that you need. Particularly in the build-up to championships. John and I have had quite detailed discussions with our athlete reps and the other constituent parts of our sport that do have an impact, the shoe companies, sponsors, to make sure, look, it's in everybody's interest that athletes make themselves available. But, you know, I was a competing athlete. I didn't want to be, you know, I didn't want to be sitting down, you know, spending hours and hours of my day in media discourse when I was, you know, trying to run 80, 90 miles a week. It doesn't work. But I do encourage athletes to be open. I do encourage them to express their opinions. I'm not somebody that's sitting there worrying about whether they're going to take a knee on a rostrum or whether they're going to say something that might, you know, not meet with my approval. We can't have it both ways. You know, we want the sport to reflect the world that people live in. We think our athletes have got a lot to say on a lot of issues, and 75% of them have been very vocal about the impact that climate change is having on training and competitive programs. So yeah, I'm never going to force an athlete to go to a press conference. There will be other pressures on them to do that through their member federation and probably through their sponsors. But look, it makes more sense if they're able to communicate what makes them tick, why they've, you know, the background to their performance. And yeah, you get asked questions sometimes you don't really want to answer, and we've all been there as well.
Okay.
Sorry, can I just very quickly ask a question? Hi. I wanted to ask you about the race walk, Seb. No, I'm joking. Could you each please just tell us what your favourite moment of the championship so far has been?
You can start this time.
This moment.
This moment.
Yeah, you.
Adam, your favourite moment of the championships?
Not when everyone goes home, by the way.
Well, for me, the most special moment of the World Championship, I couldn't just single out one of them, but I would say that it was an extremely good feeling that for 9 days Hungary has been or was celebrating athletics as a sport. And a lot of people expressed doubt when we promised that there are going to be a lot of people here in the stadium. They said this was going to be mission impossible. Also, there was a question here that Hungary today is not the strongest in terms of athletics, track and field, in international comparison. Despite that, I was really very much shocked in a positive manner that Hungarians are open to athletics, and I really trust and hope that the 9 days of wonder, the 9 days of miracle is going to contribute to the development of this sport. And it was just good to see that the international sporting world, each and every actor, based on the information that I received, enjoyed being here in Hungary.
Seb?
I'm not sure I can even begin to answer that question because I've really enjoyed virtually every element of these games. I've enjoyed the fans. I've enjoyed the friendliness in the city. I've loved the branding. It's obviously the performances. If you pinned me on one, you can take the man out of middle distance. You'll never take middle distance out of the man. I have to say, Josh Kerr's win in the 1500. Yeah, that's a bit local, and I'm sure that's not going to go down a huge heap in Norway, but I was really pleased for Josh. It was a interesting run, and it was a racer's 1500 meters.
I still think the first time you went to the Medal Plaza, that was your favourite moment.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah.
Men's shot put. I mean, you're going to get me going all night now.
Okay, so we've got the gentleman in blue t-shirt. Yes, hand right up. Don't put your hand down yet, because there's lots of blue t-shirts. I don't know why my hand's up. Yeah. Well done.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Daniel Wheeler from the Gleaner in Jamaica. Question for Seb. I know in the opening press conference you talked about in terms of the Caribbean's ability to host a major championships. Given the climate change concerns, because the Caribbean will be the most affected, how much of that pushes the ability to make a bid? And also, does maybe Bahamas, for example, have a shot at maybe a Diamond League in the near future if that happens, considering that Bahamas will be hosting the World Relays next year?
Yeah, actually, we've had discussions with Bahamas about extending into Continental Tour and ideally Diamond League. The really good thing at the moment is we've got, virtually every other conversation is somebody asking me whether there's a chance they can get into Diamond League, which is a good thing. We've got full stadia, we've got great broadcast numbers. Yeah, Bahamas is, as I said, it's delivering our World Relays next year. That will be a terrific event. And they're ambitious. Infrastructurally, they've got a good stadium. Obviously, some work would need to be done on it. I know that I was talking to Mrs. Grange, the sports minister from Jamaica. She's now talking about a new stadium and certainly an upgrade to the QE, the Princess Margaret Stadium in Kingston. So this is really, I'm hoping and I'm sensing that these championships have focused a lot of minds around the athletic sporting landscape about building new stadia. I was talking to the president of Serbia the other day who said, look, if Hungary can build a stadium like that, so can we, and has gone back already to speak to his cabinet about it. So there's a momentum, and I hope the Caribbean does stage a major championship one day. Climate change is a challenge, but it's a challenge everywhere. And obviously, you do have the hurricane season, which we know causes significant difficulties, and has caused devastation in the past. One of our first funds that we created was actually for the hurricanes of 2018 that took so much infrastructure out. So yeah, but the great thing now about World Athletics is we're so much more interactive and hands-on. We're not just sitting there waiting for a federation to come to us and say, look, we'd like to stage a games. We're now speaking at, of course the federation is important, but we're now speaking at a political level to cities and to countries that we didn't in the past. And I think that's why we're now getting so many really great bids for all our championships. Sorry? Well, you need to keep the pressure on there.
Okay, so last question to the gentleman. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Fentuo from Ghana. I have a question for Seb about the development of the sport at the grassroots level. Obviously, as you're well aware, the sports, the track and field ecosystem is more profound in other countries than in others. And, for the last few years, we've had to watch since 1983, only 3 people from other countries have won the 100 meters, for example, other than Jamaica and the USA. It's even worse. And I don't think it's a question of talent, because the other day I was talking to Carl Lewis. He says his mother is from Ghana, but I've never seen a Ghanaian on a podium. Is there something that World Athletics is doing to help the other federations that do not have the sport as developed as it is in other countries like Jamaica or the USA, to try and get them to a certain level where they can also be competing, maybe helping them develop like technical centers, for example?
Look, it's a great question, and it's a question that I'm not going to be able to answer in even 10 minutes properly. But I think there are 2 ingredients. One is that if you look at countries that are performing well internationally, they do tend to have a track and field and athletics presence in schools. And Jamaica is a really good example. Anybody that's been to the Jamaican schools championships will know that it's one of the great, it's a bucket list event. If some of you haven't been, please do. It's extraordinary. Go to the Carifta Games and you'll see exactly the same impact. So schools, the presence on the curriculum, hugely important. And actually, some countries, there's a real correlation between those countries that are losing the space for athletics in the school sports agenda and their performances at global level. The other big area that we are, and that's one area that I am focusing on. So I won't ever go to a member federation for an invitation, and you know that because I've been to Ghana and pretty much every country that I've had a question from here. And I always insist on meeting at least the political leadership of the country. And if it's not a prime minister, it's not a sports minister, it's actually an education or a health minister, because that's where our agenda really should sit. And the work we've been doing on kids athletics, I mean, it's one of our key priorities, it's one of our key pillars. We had the first of our Kids Athletics Day, May the 7th this year, and the numbers were really impressive, and we've got kids athletics now growing in many countries. I think we had something like 50,000 kids out on Kids Athletics Day across a whole range of countries. So getting kids athletics, you know, if it isn't in the school agenda, then we can actually provide tools, resources, the kit to be able to help them easily get it into that school agenda. So those are really the two key areas. The third is really the relationship that our area associations have with the member federations. And that we will look at over the next 4 years, because we want to make sure that the balance of funding that is going into the areas is finding its way into good, well-organized member federations. And if you haven't got that transmission mechanism, it's going to be difficult. So I would say school curriculum, kids athletics, and the balance between the areas and the member federations are the three areas that I think can make a difference.
Great, thank you. I'm really sorry, no more questions, because I know the medal ceremonies are about to begin, and there are cameras trying to leave. So, but we're here. So I know, gentlemen at the back, you'd like to ask a question. Come up, but let everybody else leave that wants to go to the medal ceremonies. Yep. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Okay.